welcome to episode 2 of the Questing Guild. So, you saw the last episode and you said, hey, maybe I should try out playing Dungeons & Dragons. And you know what? I'm glad you did, because Dungeons & Dragons is a game that everyone should play at least once. So in the next couple episodes, we're going to go over the core mechanics of the game, that way when you gather with your friends, you know how to play the game and have a lot of fun. In this first episode, we're going to discuss what is a Dungeon Master, or DM for short, and how does one take on the role of a DM. If you've ever seen videos of people playing Dungeons & Dragons before, or seen people play Dungeons & Dragons in a movie, the Dungeon Master will typically be the person sitting behind the Dungeon Master screen. What the Dungeon Master does is basically narrate the story for the characters and describe the actions that the characters do and that the other non-player characters do, also known as the NPCs.
It's a horde of choo-choo zombies! Sir Mike, your action!
What should I do?
Attack?
Okay, I attack with my flail.
Whoosh! You miss! Your flail clanks the stone, the zombie horde lumbers towards you, and... the choo-choo bites your arm, flesh tears! 7 points of damage.
Dungeon Masters also have to act as referee for the game. They tell the players what actions they are allowed to take and what actions they cannot take. And while Dungeon Masters usually follow the core mechanics of Dungeons & Dragons, they can choose to either take certain rules out or put in new rules that fits their own style of playing. But the most important role of the Dungeon Master is creating a story for your players to interact in. You have to create a whole new world for them to interact with, new characters, and you have to put them in certain situations that will really put their abilities to the test. The Dungeon Master is the person who has to put in the most effort in the game, since they have to plan ahead of time what they're going to do in their game of Dungeons & Dragons. Sure, it is a lot of work, but it's all worth it once you realize how much fun you're having with your friends. And part of the fun of being the Dungeon Master is that you get to take on the role of multiple characters, allowing you to flex your acting muscles as you take on the roles of different types of NPCs. The best advice I can give as a Dungeon Master, if you want to start becoming a Dungeon Master, is to really just communicate with your players. Talk about what they want to see in the story and what role their character wants to take in it. And if one of your characters has a really cool backstory, maybe try incorporating that into the story, that way that character will feel special when it does come up. And another big part of the game is learning how to improv on spot. Because no matter what, no matter how hard you plan, somehow, some way, your players will come up with a way to derail your entire story, leaving you to have to come up with something completely new in order to continue the story. It's part of the fun of being a Dungeon Master. Once again, it flexes your creative muscles as you have to try to rework the story to accommodate your players' actions. And I can give you an example of how I've had to improvise in my previous D&D games as a Dungeon Master. I was running this one story called The Dragon of Icespire Peak. And there's one portion in the game where the players had to go to an ancient dwarvish fortress, and they had to go in there and kill a banshee that's been haunting the place for centuries. Now, I played this with two different groups at two different periods. The first group that I played with went inside the fortress, they fought some ghouls, they found the banshee and killed her, and then they went out and they collected their gold. Now, the second time I played this game, I played it with a completely different group. And it was interesting how they went about it, because they went in, and instead of trying to kill the banshee, they tried to sympathize with her. They tried to put her to rest instead of fighting her. Now, I expected my players to go in swords blazing and wanting to kill this thing. I didn't expect for them to want to try to handle this in a more peaceful way. So here I am, I'm ready for a battle, and they just completely surprised me out of the blue. So what did I do? Well, I just thought back to previous movies and TV shows that I've seen that handled ghosts. And I figured, since they want to put the ghost to rest, I stole something from a TV show I watched called Supernatural. And I told the players that if they want to put the ghost to rest, all they have to do is find the remains and burn the body. The players did that, and they walked away from this encounter without shedding any blood. So as long as you stay on your toes and you're ready to improvise whenever the chance comes, then you'll do perfectly fine as a Dungeon Master. Because remember, this isn't about telling a perfect story, it's about having fun with your friends and telling a story that's pretty fun. So, that's it for today's episode of the Questing Guild. Make sure you stay tuned for next time, because we'll be diving deeper into the core mechanics of the game, like how do you create a character sheet, and how does combat play out within the game. Until next time, best of luck on your adventures, traveler.